The day is winding down. The light outside is turning soft and golden, and you're likely in your favorite evening place, maybe curled up in the recliner with a throw over your lap, or standing at the sink rinsing your supper plate. You feel that familiar heaviness starting to settle in again, your back a little stiffer, your mind wandering without quite catching what it needs to, and even the everyday things that used to happen automatically, like remembering whether you locked the back door or what you planned to watch on TV, now require an extra second or two of thought. You might let out a quiet breath and tell yourself, this is simply what getting older brings, right? But let me pull up a chair beside you, like we're old friends sharing the end of the day, and speak plainly from the heart. I've listened to this same gentle worry from so many people in their 60s, 70s, and beyond, and after more than 20 years working closely with seniors on sleep and brain health, I can tell you with certainty, a great deal of that mental fog, those frustrating little memory slips that happen more often these days, and the quicker way small annoyances can feel overwhelming, aren't always just the calendar moving forward. Very often they're connected to sleep habits that have quietly drifted out of their best rhythm, and the truly hopeful part is that gentle, everyday adjustments can help bring back clearer mornings, steadier moods, and a sense of your mind working more like it once did. I'm Dr. Michael Kent, and I've spent decades sitting with folks just like you, hearing the same honest descriptions. They tell me about walking into the living room and standing there blank, not sure why they went in, or starting to tell a grandchild about something from years ago, and then pausing because the right word won't come, or waking up already feeling like the day is too full before they've even put the kettle on. They come to me believing these are the unavoidable marks of time passing, something everyone has to accept. But when we sit and look closely, especially at how their nights unfold, sleep patterns that have drifted often turn out to be doing more of the damage than anyone realized. The advice most people hear about sleep, that you just need to get enough hours and you'll be fine, only scratches the surface. Sleep is when your brain does its most vital, behind-the-scenes work. Every single night it becomes a patient caretaker, gently sweeping away the waste products that pile up from all your daytime thinking, moving, and living. It carefully stores the memories you want to keep so they stay solid and accessible. It repairs and strengthens the delicate connections between brain cells that let you reason clearly, solve little problems, and pull up names or faces when you need them. And it resets your emotions so you can wake up feeling even and calm instead of starting the day already tense, short-tempered, or weighed down. Whenever that nighttime process gets shortened, interrupted, or knocked off balance, even by things that seem small at first, the brain feels the impact right away. The changes show up in ordinary daily moments that can feel minor, but build over time. You might begin a phone call with a friend and then hesitate because the name of their grandchild slips your mind. Or you find yourself getting annoyed waiting in line at the pharmacy because patience feels thinner than it once did. Or you sit down to look through a photo album and the images don't hold your attention the way they used to. The National Institute on Aging has put clear numbers to this. Nearly half of adults over 65 face ongoing sleep difficulties, yet more than 60% of those same people believe the problems are harmless or simply what happens as you age. What they often don't see is how those sleep troubles can steadily erode brain function over months and years, without any sharp pain or obvious red flags to warn you it's happening. The most surprising thing for many is that one of the biggest quiet threats to staying mentally clear in later years usually isn't too much sugar in your food, the daily stresses that come with living, or the family genes you were born with. More often, it's the seemingly minor habits around when you go to bed and what happens during the night. In the time we have together today, I'll walk you through the 5 most common sleep patterns that silently affect senior brains, then share the straightforward, research-backed adjustments, supported by solid studies from Harvard, Stanford, and the National Institute on Aging, that can help protect your memory, keep your focus steady, and help your mood stay more balanced. These aren't complicated or overwhelming changes. They're practical, gentle steps you can start right in your own home without turning your whole routine upside down. Before we go any further, if you wouldn't mind, just type your age in the comments. I always appreciate seeing who's here listening because it helps me feel like I'm talking directly to people who might be noticing these same shifts and want clear, easy-to-follow ways to feel more like themselves again. Let me explain what's really happening in your brain when your sleep schedule isn't steady, because this explanation is something most people never hear in plain, everyday words. As we move through our 60s and 70s, the circadian rhythm, that natural internal timer that controls alertness, memory strength, focus ability, and emotional steadiness, begins to lose some of its earlier flexibility and smoothness. You can picture it like a train station that used to run on a perfect timetable. Every train arrived and departed exactly when it was supposed to, keeping everything calm and organized. If the schedule suddenly becomes unpredictable, with trains showing up at random times, disorder spreads through the whole system. Your brain works in exactly the same way. The master clock inside it, a small region called the suprachiasmatic nucleus, relies heavily on regular daily cues to keep all the rhythms coordinated. When bedtime drifts from one night to the next, perhaps early one evening because you're especially tired, later the next because you stayed up visiting or watching something, the deep non-REM sleep stages, which are so vital for turning short-term experiences into long-lasting memories, get noticeably shorter. A team at the University of Colorado followed 300 adults across 8 full years, and their findings were clear and consistent. People whose sleep times varied a lot from night to night experienced a 30% faster decline in their ability to recall specific events and details from their days, and this link held even when total sleep time stayed roughly the same. I know this can be hard to accept at first. Many people say to me, "But doctor, I still get 7 or 8 hours most nights. Why should the exact time I go to bed make such a difference?" The answer comes down to the difference between simply being asleep for a certain length of time and getting the high-quality, restorative sleep your brain truly needs. Consistent timing allows the full depth of those repair stages to happen. Without it, even adequate hours leave important parts of the brain's nighttime work incomplete. If you've ever stepped into a room and stood there wondering what on earth you came for, feel free to add the word foggy to your comment so I know this feels familiar. Another habit that appears over and over is lying in bed awake for 20 minutes, 40 minutes, sometimes close to an hour, figuring it's no big deal since you're at least trying to rest. It feels innocent in the moment, but your brain is constantly learning from what happens, and prolonged wakefulness in bed teaches it that the bed is a place for thinking, worrying, or staying alert, rather than drifting into deep relaxation. Over time, that association makes sleep lighter and more broken up, because the mind no longer trusts the bed as the automatic signal to wind down. It's a lot like trying to park your car in a spot that's become a chaotic, noisy intersection when it should be tucked safely in a quiet garage. The calm space gets crowded out by activity. Johns Hopkins researchers followed 250 adults aged 65 and older and discovered that those who regularly remained awake in bed for prolonged periods had 42% more awakenings during the night and higher scores for morning anxiety. That ongoing pattern quietly contributes to feeling mentally cloudy during the day, getting irritated more quickly over small things, and sometimes developing a new sense of unease or nervousness that feels strange because it wasn't part of your usual way of being. Going to bed much earlier than needed, say 7 or 8 in the evening, because it seems like the sensible choice to guarantee plenty of rest, surprises almost everyone when I point it out. It makes sense on paper, but the brain actually requires a sufficient number of wakeful hours during the day to generate sleep pressure, that healthy buildup of tiredness that helps you drop into the deeper, more healing parts of sleep. When bedtime arrives too soon, both deep slow-wave sleep and REM sleep with its dreaming phases end up shortened, which directly weakens how well memories get stored and how steadily emotions stay regulated. Imagine your brain during waking hours as a sponge soaking up everything you see, hear, and do. If it hasn't had enough time to take in that daytime water, it can't fully squeeze itself clean and refreshed at night. University of Michigan researchers examined older adults who chose very early bedtimes and found their REM periods were 20% briefer, even though they stayed in bed 9 or 10 hours altogether. That shortened REM can closely resemble the early signs of thinking slowing down, yet in many cases the brain itself remains healthy, and getting the wake-sleep balance right reverses the pattern. Light coming in during the night, even faint amounts from a hallway fixture left on, a phone screen glowing while charging, or a television left on low, catches nearly everyone off guard. It tells your brain it's not truly dark yet and holds back the release of melatonin, the natural hormone that guards brain cells and helps launch the deepest, most repairing sleep phases. You might picture the nighttime brain as a factory that needs complete darkness to run its cleanup crew efficiently. Any light keeps parts of the system working when they should be off, so waste piles up longer. Stanford investigators tested the impact on adults 65 and older and saw that even modest amounts of light at night dropped melatonin levels by 50%, resulting in shallower sleep overall and less effective memory building the next day. People tend to downplay this one because the damage accumulates so slowly and doesn't announce itself with immediate discomfort, but it quietly adds to the overall burden. Using sleep medications regularly over a long period rounds out the common habits. These can provide welcome relief for short stretches when sleep is particularly difficult, but when used nightly across many months or years, a number of them dampen the very deep non-REM and REM stages the brain depends on for processing what you've learned, clearing out harmful buildup, and maintaining emotional equilibrium. A study published in JAMA Neurology examined seniors taking benzodiazepine sleep aids consistently for more than 6 months and noted a 23% reduction in slow-wave sleep, the particular stage responsible for washing away proteins like beta-amyloid associated with cognitive risks. Even when the person feels they've slept enough, the brain misses out on full nighttime maintenance, leaving small gaps that accumulate over time. The good news that keeps coming through in all of this is that none of these habits lock in irreversible harm. Brains retain impressive resilience well into the 60s, 70s, and even later, and meaningful recovery often follows when conditions improve. Awareness paired with small, consistent adjustments makes the difference, not fear. To make this feel more real, let me tell you about 2 people I've worked with closely. Margaret was 72 when she first came to see me. She sat across from me feeling both frustrated and frightened. She described how her mind seemed to be slipping away day by day, walking into rooms only to forget her purpose there, groping for ordinary words that used to flow without thought, noticing memory lapses pop up regularly in conversations or while running errands. She believed she was getting 8 solid hours of sleep each night, but as we talked further, she explained that her bedtime varied quite a bit, sometimes starting at 9, other nights closer to 11, depending on how the evening unfolded, and she frequently spent a full hour lying awake with her mind spinning through worries or replaying the day's events. Together, we introduced the REST protocol, a clear, phased plan I'll describe in detail shortly. Within 6 weeks, she returned with noticeable excitement in her voice. She said her mornings had transformed. She now felt roughly 80% clear and alert upon waking instead of the 40% she had grown used to. Nighttime awakenings fell from 4 or 5 episodes down to just 1 or 2. The anxiety that had begun shadowing her days eased considerably, and she regained a sense of trust in her own thinking. Memory wasn't suddenly perfect, but her brain felt nourished and rested for the first time in a long while. Looking me in the eye, she said quietly, "I was convinced I was losing my mind for good, but it turned out my brain had just been running on empty without the right kind of rest." Harold was 68 and had adopted the habit of retiring very early, around 7 most evenings, because he thought extra time in bed would protect his health. Unfortunately, he would wake around 3 in the morning, completely alert, and remain unable to fall back asleep for hours. Testing showed a mild dip in his short-term recall ability, and he had depended on a low-dose sleep medication for several years. We focused on establishing a fixed wake-up time every morning, reducing any sources of light after dark, and gradually shifting bedtime later in small increments. After 8 weeks, his deep sleep had risen by 35% based on the wearable tracker he used. His word recall score climbed from 15 out of 20 to 19 out of 20. The persistent morning haze cleared away completely, and his daily mood became far more consistent without the emotional roller coaster he'd experienced before. The rest protocol successfully realigned his natural repair rhythms, and he expressed genuine surprise at how much lighter and more capable he felt overall. Stories like Margaret's and Harold's aren't unusual at all. Hundreds of older adults I've worked with show clear, measurable progress in thinking, mood, and daily energy when their sleep habits get realigned. The approach that has guided so many of these improvements is something I call the REST protocol: rhythm, education, stimulus control, and timing. Let me walk you through it slowly and practically so you can see how it fits into your own routine. The very first piece is anchoring your wake-up time. Pick a realistic hour that works for your life, maybe 7 o'clock, maybe 7:30, and get up at exactly that time every single morning, no matter how the night went. Even if sleep felt short or restless, rise anyway, get some light, maybe have breakfast or step outside. This one habit powerfully steadies your inner clock and builds stronger natural pressure to sleep deeply the next night. It gives your brain a clear, reliable marker for when daytime begins and nighttime should follow. Harvard-led research demonstrated that holding a consistent wake time boosted deep sleep by 30% within only 2 weeks for many participants. Alongside that, handle naps thoughtfully. If napping feels helpful, limit it strictly to 20 minutes or less and finish well before 3 in the afternoon. Extended or late-day naps reduce the healthy pressure your body needs to drop into truly restorative nighttime sleep. In place of long naps, channel energy into daytime habits that encourage natural tiredness later. One of the simplest and most powerful helpers is getting morning light exposure. Try to spend 15 to 20 minutes outside in natural daylight soon after waking, perhaps by taking a slow walk around the block, sitting on your porch with the sun on your face, or even standing near an open window if going outside feels tricky. That early sunlight helps reset your clock, makes it easier to fall asleep in the evening, and increases how deeply you sleep once you're there. Adding gentle movement at the same time, like easy walking, light stretching, or simple chores, makes it even more effective by naturally building that sleep pressure throughout the day. Stimulus control is the part that helps when you find yourself awake in bed for too long. The guideline is straightforward. If 20 to 30 minutes pass without sleep arriving, leave the bed calmly, move to a different room if possible, keep lighting very soft and low, and choose an activity that is deliberately uninteresting and non-activating. You might flip through an old catalog, organize a drawer quietly, or sit listening to gentle instrumental music. Steer clear of phones, televisions, bright rooms, or anything mentally engaging. This method gradually reteaches the brain that bed means sleep, rather than wakeful thinking or frustration. The Johns Hopkins group reported that seniors applying this technique reduced their average nighttime awakenings by 42% across 6 weeks, leading to noticeably fresher mornings. Regarding bedtime, the window that suits most older adults best falls between 9:30 and 10:30 at night. If your current pattern sits outside that range, resist forcing an abrupt change. Instead, adjust gradually by moving bedtime about 15 minutes later every 2 or 3 nights until you settle comfortably into the ideal zone. This slower shift allows your body to adapt smoothly and frequently results in extended periods of deep, slow-wave sleep and REM sleep, both of which enhance memory consolidation and emotional steadiness. University of Michigan findings showed seniors who optimized bedtime in this way improved their scores on cognitive assessments by 15 to 20% after 4 weeks. The final pieces involve protecting nighttime darkness and thoughtfully reviewing any regular sleep medications with your doctor. After sunset, switch to dim, warm-colored lighting rather than harsh overheads. Position electronic devices screen down or in another room, and turn off televisions well ahead of bedtime. Preserving natural melatonin flow supports deeper sleep stages and more effective overnight brain cleanup. If sleep aids are part of your routine, discuss with your physician whether continuing them remains appropriate or if alternatives might better align with long-term brain health. Small refinements in this area often yield outsized improvements. When you follow the rest protocol consistently, the benefits tend to unfold in stages that feel motivating and sustainable. During the initial week, sleep often grows subtly deeper, middle-of-the-night awakenings decrease in number, and mornings bring a faint but welcome increase in mental brightness. By the second week, most people fall asleep more quickly after getting into bed. Overall anxiety levels dip slightly, and daytime alertness begins to feel more reliable. In weeks 3 and 4, the gains become easier to notice. Recalled details surface more readily. Focus holds steadier during reading or talking with others. Memory for recent events strengthens, and emotional responses feel calmer and less reactive. From week 4 onward, the deep and REM phases settle into a dependable rhythm. Reliance on daytime naps diminishes, and a broader sense of cognitive clarity returns, making ordinary activities feel smoother and less effortful. The process resembles a gentle yet profound reset for the brain, starting quietly but building into a meaningful restoration of sharpness once consistent rhythms take hold. To be completely transparent, the REST protocol supports better sleep-related brain function, but does not serve as a cure or direct treatment for dementia, Alzheimer's, or other neurological disorders. If you currently take prescribed medications of any kind, particularly those for sleep, mood, blood pressure, or other conditions, never discontinue or alter them independently. Consult your doctor first. For anyone managing diagnosed sleep apnea, significant cardiac issues, depression, or similar concerns, speak with your physician before introducing notable routine changes. The wisest approach is gradual. Lock in the steady wake-up time for several days or a week until it feels natural. Then slowly incorporate the bedtime adjustment, followed by stimulus control and light management as your body settles in. These remain safe, low-risk modifications, backed by measurable positive effects on brain performance. Here's the challenge I offer you personally. Select one single component of the REST protocol that feels approachable, perhaps committing to that unchanging wake-up time, experimenting with a slightly later bedtime, minimizing light after dark, or applying the get-out-of-bed rule when sleep stalls, and follow it faithfully every day for 30 full days. During that month, keep a casual mental note of how clear-headed you feel upon waking, how stable your mood remains through the hours, and how reliably your memory serves you in daily situations. When the 30 days end, return here and share your observations in a comment. Your honest experiences can lift someone else who's reading along, and putting your own observations into words helps solidify the changes for you. Your brain has carried you through decades of experiences, relationships, challenges, and joys. It has earned more than a casual dismissal as just getting older. Through reliable, caring sleep practices, you can actively nurture its strength, helping memory stay dependable, focus remain steady, and emotional balance endure. Next week, I plan to explore one unexpected daily habit that often lifts brain fog in seniors, and I feel confident at least one suggestion will prompt you to reconsider long-held ideas about keeping your mind vibrant. If you've stayed right here until the final words, I'd love to see you type "hopeful for better rest" in the comments. It tells me you made it all the way, and you're ready to give these ideas a gentle try.